Did you see where True Peoria over to Bloomington?
Yeah. A couple inches of snow yesterday, huh?
Okay, so that's kind of a quick, yeah, if you could read my.
We got lucky again.
Again. We're supposed to get some more,
David?
what, the next couple days?
Just a gentle reminder. Thank you.
Next couple days?
Yes, yeah. Some combo,
Yeah.
all types of.
Yeah.
Forgot about my place of honor. Second, yeah.
You're telling them.
When you try to rush this along.
Did you get them?
Are you ready, man? At this time, I'll call to order the City of Joliet pre-council meeting for Monday, April 2nd, 2018. The Honorable Mayor Robert Odekirk presiding. Mayor?
Nice, nice. Good.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Odekirk.
Here.
Oh, happy birthday.
Councilman Dickinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman. Here. Councilman Turk.
Here.
First on the agenda tonight is citizens to be heard on agenda items. First, we have Thomas Boucher.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I am Tom Boucher of 110 Rebecca Road in Joliet and a resident of District 3. I'm appearing before you as a concerned citizen who wants to see Joliet reach its full potential and ask that you reaffirm the January 2nd, 2018 City Council rejection of a special use permit for Crusader Customs. As you may recall, via email in January, I shared my concern that granting this exception runs counter to the objectives of the Medical District TIF, which was created to serve as an engine for redevelopment and reinvestment in the areas around St. Joseph Hospital. I remain concerned that this category of business in this location will have a detrimental effect and will very likely limit the type of investment targeted. The vision and leadership exhibited in creating this district, which was approved with unanimous support of the council, should be commended. My career experience of over 30 years in the telecommunications and technology industry has given me bit parts in the transformation of how our economy functions globally today. I cite this because we're at an intersection of technology and medicine. The accelerating sector of healthcare information technology is truly in the early stages. Today, over 27% of all venture capital investment in the U.S. is now directed to emerging healthcare technologies. In the fourth quarter of 2017 alone, $3.9 billion was invested. As civic leaders, you could not be making a better bet than healthcare. And with an aging baby booming population, the sector of our economy is conservatively estimated to experience a compounded annual rate of growth of between 8.4 and 15.9%. At the March 15th Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Commission, I shared my opinion and provided examples how the redevelopment in the area surrounding the medical TIF district has improved the overall area. I've done some back of the envelope calculations on average revenue per location provided by the parent companies. And with the opening of Starbucks, Potbelly's, Wingstop, Panda Express, Chipotle, Applebee's, and Aldi, the city is now realizing nearly $200,000 of new annual sales revenue. In this area, there are several more new businesses for which I have not accounted, nor have I accounted for the contribution of additional real estate tax revenue that all of these developments provide, though it is likely far greater than just the sales tax revenue. The momentum that you have is strong. The investments have improved the area for city residents, thousands of employees serving the medical industry, as well as thousands of patients and visitors who travel into this area each day. There are likely dozens of specialty realtors for whom the demographics of this medical district, its workers, and its clientele would be desirable. I encourage you to keep the momentum going and continue to grow the sales tax and real estate tax base. The body shop for hot rod vehicles proposed for 2409 West Jefferson lies within 300 feet of the medical district. I use the term body shop to describe the proposed venture because to date, the petitioner has not shared publicly what specifically his description of customized vehicles entails. I interpret the term customized vehicles to represent the installation of non-standard parts, such as non-standard suspension systems, non-standard exhaust systems, non-standard hydraulic lifts to adjust the heights of vehicles, non-standard fenders, fender covers, side skirts, non-standard hoods, and non-standard lighting. In the end, the proposed venture would significantly alter vehicles via methods that are generally performed in body shops. Though this property was previously an auto parts store, please note that when this structure was originally built in the mid-1970s, it was purpose-built as an Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips restaurant.
It's a 4-minute time limit. Can you wrap it up, please? Thank you.
Am I at the 4 minutes?
Yeah, it's 4.5 minutes.
Okay. What I'd like to do then, in closing, is share pictures that I had taken last Saturday, as a meeting last week, or 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry. The gentleman pledged to, made a number of pledges, one of which was to not park vehicles in front of the facility. And so I'd like to share these with you. These were taken last Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
In closing, you know, I'd just like to say the pledge was made along with about a dozen other commitments that these would be followed. And while still soliciting your support for this and looking to garner your support, the petitioner has gone forth and done this. In this previous location on Jefferson Street, there were numerous incidents where the Reedswood Homeowners Association needed to contact city services and have them come out and rectify the situation. That was all cited by Mr. Jackson at the January 2nd meeting. So in closing, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? Seeing none, we'll pass it over to the city manager to discuss tomorrow night's agenda items.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. For tomorrow night's City Council meeting, we were fortunate to have an opportunity to share some updates with you on our Community Development Department in recognition of National Community Development Week. I certainly will continue to look for opportunities to recognize, as I'm sure you also want to do, our many city employees. And there's many opportunities throughout the year where there's official nationwide designations to be given for many of the programs we provide as a City of Joliet workforce. So we'll have a proclamation and just a very brief presentation of some of the great positive accomplishments going on in this particular area. Afterwards, and after the committee reports, as typical in the consent agenda, we have some minutes, 2 sets of payroll to be handled under the consent agenda. If there's no other questions on the consent agenda, I'd like to move on to the license and permit. There is one drive-through permit for Basinger's Pharmacy at 2219 West Jefferson Street. This has been reviewed by the Public Works Department and found to be in compliance, and they're recommending that that be approved tomorrow night. Is there any questions on that particular application? In the area of public hearings, we do have a public hearing on the annexation and a reclassification of some small parcels of land, 4 parcels specifically, that the Vulcan industry has recently purchased, and they're proposing to incorporate that into their current facility out there at the southeast corner of Brandon Road and Zurich Road. This particular annexation and the associated other ordinances has been recommended by staff and the Planning Commission with a positive recommendation. With that in mind, is there any questions anyone has about Council Memo 17818, the annexation of these 4 parcels for the Vulcan Industries? Moving on, under ordinances, some of you may recall previously, it was brought to the council's attention that several years ago, state law was amended to clarify that the use of compressed natural gas as a motor fuel could be addressed by municipalities. And so the city of Joliet, through corporate counsel and the director of finance, have prepared an ordinance that would allow us, as many other cities have done, is to include these particular products to be taxed in accordance with the state statute and as allowed by state statute. So this is similar to kind of previously what was discussed on an informal basis previously. Is there any questions you might have on this memo dealing with compressed natural gas as a motor fuel for tax purposes?
Mayor? Yes. Just to be clear, David, all we're doing is updating our own local ordinance, which is quite a number of years old, with the current state statute, and this will not cost those that are, currently purchasing regular gasoline and diesel. That doesn't affect that. We're just adding the compressed propane and natural gas.
Exactly, yes. Okay. There's no change to the motor fuel tax, which I believe is currently at 1 cent. 1 cent, which I don't think has changed for many, many years. So, okay.
Thank you.
On Council Memo 18118, we're asking for, I believe it looks like 3 properties, 1313 Dearborn Street, 114 Union Street, 357 South Chicago Street, to be declared public nuisances. Just wanted to point out, we've been asking city staff to continue to add as much detail as they can on each of these properties recommended to be designated public nuisance, including the communication efforts to contact the owner, the owner's representative. And as you've seen, many efforts have been made on these 3 properties in a very proactive, comprehensive manner. But we'll be recommending that that ordinance be approved tomorrow night. Any questions? Beginning with item Council Memo 18218, 18318, and 18418, we basically have 3 large ordinance categories that all deal with subdivision amendments for the Center Point Intermodal Center. As you notice, the first memo deals with phase 19, the next for phase 20, and let's see, phase 18. So 18, 19, 20. And I'm going to turn to Kendall Jackson, Community Development Director. But basically, as you've seen, there's been a catalyst for several reasons for these additional phases to be brought to the council at this time. One is the Hobart Road extension and trying to ensure that the property up in that area is properly planned, designated, and everything is adjusted in accordance with the future extension and the bridge project in this area, as well as the ongoing sale, planning for sale or lease of property at Center Point in this area. Mr. Jackson, is there anything else that is unique about these 3 phases being proposed by Center Point?
Yes, the only thing I would add would be phase 19, and that is annexation and zoning of a large tract of land, and that would be for future accommodations for the Hobo Bridge.
All 3 of these ordinances and groups of ordinances were recommended by staff and the Planning Commission with positive votes. Is there any questions on any one of these 3 phases and the associated ordinances for these phases at Center Point? If not, I'd like to move on. Council Memo 18518 as some final closeout activity is taking place for Water's Edge. There has been a request from the Housing Authority of Joliet for the vacation of some obsolete public utility easements at this project. You might recall that with the new development, these easements and the associated utilities have been adjusted in accordance with the new and actually completed project there. These public utilities are no longer needed and currently being impacted by driveways, drive approaches, and there's no longer needed for the purposes of the public at large. So this comes with a positive recommendation for vacation. Any questions on Council Memo 18518? Next item, we have an ordinance approving the reclassification of 40 acres at the southeast corner of Breen Road and Route 53 from B3 zoning and R1B zoning to I1 zoning. And again, I'd like to turn to Mr. Jackson to just comment on this particular request for rezoning, and if you would also share the staff and Planning Commission recommendation on this 40-acre rezoning request.
Yes, this 40-acre tract is due east of the Smith Farm, which, if the Mayor and City Council recalls, was annexed and rezoned several months ago. This would be rezoning from B3, and that's the commercial zoning, to I1 zoning, which would allow the future development of an industrial site. And there was consideration at the Plan Commission and a recommendation for approval, and staff is supportive of that recommendation.
Any questions council may have on this rezoning request? Moving on, Council Memo 187-18 deals with the reclassification from I1 zoning to B3 zoning and an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow an auto customization, auto accessory installation, and used car sales business at 2409 West Jefferson Street. I would like to have Kendall Jackson also address the staff recommendation on this, and also what the Planning Commission recommended on this petition.
Yes, this item was before the Mayor and City Council a few months back. There was a recommendation for approval of a special use permit that came from the zoning board at that time for a customization business, denied by the City Council. Under city rules, they were not able to come back until a year passed with that denial at the City Council level. They are allowed to come back as new business, and in this instance, it's a rezoning of the property from industrial to commercial zoning. That went before the Plan Commission, and the Plan Commission recommended approval of the rezoning, and staff is supportive of that recommendation.
Any questions?
David or Kendall, what exactly, I know the petitioner has certain things that he can do in the I-1 zoning. He has certain uses that he can use that business for in the I-1 zoning. What exactly is he seeking the special use permit for? Is it the outdoor sales of the automobiles? But what exactly is he looking for the special use permit for?
Yes, that's a very good question. And to clarify, the previous zoning allows for the auto accessory sales. There was an auto accessory sales business there that lasted for years, which was allowed by right of zoning. The additional request was for the sale of custom vehicles, which can only happen through a special use permit, both in the I-1 district as well as a B3 district. So in order to come back through the process, the petitioner elected to rezone the property, which would be one action, and that would be for the rezoning, and then the other action would be for special use permit to allow the custom car sales.
So basically, the current zoning that he has is going to allow the property or the facility to continue to be used the way it was using. What we're saying, what we're looking at here is basically the special use permit, which would allow him to sell vehicles on the grounds.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And this is outside the TIF district, correct?
This is west of the TIF district, and it is outside of the TIF district boundaries.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, we was given this picture, so I don't know, Kendall, Dave, is this an issue that the owners are aware of, or?
I haven't seen the picture. I'm not quite sure what it depicts.
I'll give it to him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. If I could address that, Councilman Morris, Michael Hanson on behalf of the petitioner. In the process of getting this back before the council again, we did state that upon approval of the special use permit and the down zoning from I-1 to B3, that we would not be parking vehicles in front of the premises. I think there's no question that the picture shows that there is a vehicle parked in front of the premises. It has not yet been approved. I think this was just an inadvertent error, on behalf of somebody, that there will be no parking signs put up if everything gets approved, and prohibitions taken to make sure that there aren't vehicles parked in the future in front of the premises, so.
Okay, so they're gonna be signage?
Signage to prohibit that, et cetera, yes.
Mayor and City Council, if I may add, there are conditions on this request that would not allow this to happen. There would be no vehicles on display for sale in front of the building. And that is a condition of any approval.
Question? Yes.
Or parking either, sale or parking.
Kendall?
Yes.
So really what he's looking for was special use to sell cars?
Correct.
And to do installations, some level of mechanics work?
Correct, yes.
He currently can, he's selling his accessories.
Yeah, that's allowed by right of zoning
Right.
in an I-1 or a B3 district.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the
Okay.
customization and the sales requires a special use permit.
Could I just be a little bit more specific, Councilman? Again, because it was addressed earlier this evening that this is a body shop. It is not a body shop, okay? All he wants to do inside the back of the premises is install these special accessories to cars, not to the extent that Mr. Boucher happened to make a representation, okay? Number one, and with respect to the sale of cars, it's not the sale of used cars. It's just the sale of those cars from which he puts the special accessories on to sell. So it's not a used car facility. I think we have to be very clear about that.
Yes.
Kendall, I've got a question. So I think I heard you say that part of the special use permit, that once he puts his accessories, on an automobile to sell, that those automobiles have to remain in the back of the facility?
That is correct. And there is a portion of the lot that would be next to the building on the east side, where he would like to store vehicles for sale. And we're requiring that that be solid fencing, so that it would be screened from view from Jefferson Street.
Okay.
But everything would be behind the fence or behind the building.
And I don't mean to be flippant, but how do you sell vehicles when they're maintained in the back of the facility? You know, there's some pretty successful business people in this town that, you know, that are auto dealers, and if you drive by any of them, the vehicles are in the front of the facility to be sold. You know, it's like putting the donuts in the back of the bakery.
I'll answer that question. It's pretty, at this point, this is not it's a destination, you know, type of business. So the people who are going to go to purchase those cars are intending to go there to look at the cars. Whereas in a typical car sales business, you may have people driving by, you know, who say, I think I'm going to look at this car and want to do something. So these are specific customers. There's only a small market for these types of vehicles. So it's appropriate that they, especially right here, that they be in the back where they can see them. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
There's no other questions. We'll move on to Council Memo 188-18, an ordinance approving the reclassification of 5.33 acres from B3 zoning to I1 zoning, and a resolution approving an amendment to an annexation agreement for 130 East Laraway Road. As indicated in the staff backup report, the petitioner is proposing that a 322,560 square foot warehouse distribution facility be built, and in order to accommodate that, they are seeking this zoning of a portion of the property, 5.33 acres, and an amendment to the 2006 annexation agreement necessary in order to proceed. Is there any questions on Council Memo 188-18?
Yes.
Yeah, I have one question. I was kind of looking through this, and I guess at the Plan Commission, somebody was, some of the residents, Kendall or Dave, street started with a Z. I can't pronounce it.
Zip Road.
Zip Road or something like that?
Yes,
So the trucks won't be allowed to come, because this is a real narrow street.
correct.
Then it's a dead end
Yes.
at the east end of the street. So, but I could never understand in the, from the Plan Commission, whatever was said about that.
Yeah, they would not be allowed to use Zip Road to access this site. Their plan is to come in and go out on Laraway Road. In the future, if they were to want to or desire to come and use Zip Road, they would need to make an improvement on Zip Road from their parcel all the way west to Route 53.
Okay, and then the other question was about the 24-hour being open, or trucks coming 24 hours. Was that a yes or a no? I kind of didn't get a good understanding either on that.
Yeah, typically that's not something that the Plan Commission would weigh in on in terms of the duration of an operation there, and it's something that staff hasn't typically weighed in on either. A lot of these operations are 24 hours. In this particular case, there are, I think, a few residences still remaining on Laraway Road, but with the siting of the building, most of the truck operation will be sort of screened from the residences, I believe, to the west.
All right, thank you.
If there's no other questions or comments, we'll move on to resolutions. Council Memo 190-18 is a resolution authorizing execution of an economic incentive agreement with West Jeff Auto Sales LLC in an amount not to exceed $3.5 million. You might recall this was on the agenda previously. The change that has been made in this incentive agreement is to strike or delete any and all reference to a future incentive agreement of like amount for a yet unnamed dealership. That has been removed. So this incentive agreement deals with the two dealerships, I think it's Mazda and Volkswagen, that have been discussed previously. So this comes with a positive recommendation of staff. Is there any questions on Council Memo 190-18? Moving on, Council Memo 191-18, resolution authorizing the execution of a CDBG subrecipient agreement between the City of Joliet and Senior Services of Will County in the amount of $65,000. And Mr. Jackson, could you just clarify the services to be provided by Senior Services of Will County for this amount of money would be specifically what?
Yes, the services would be emergency repairs, minor rehab for low-income seniors, and that's defined as 62 years of age or older.
Thank you. Any questions on this resolution? Moving on, Council Memo 192-18, resolution authorizing the execution of a CDBG subrecipient agreement between the City of Joliet and Holston Human Capital Development in the amount up to $90,000. As you may recall, Holston is the managing entity managing the Riverwalk Homes area, or the former Evergreen Terrace property. We've continued with the initial transition to management by Holston, there has been identified an ongoing continual need to help low-income residents at this facility to access various services such as employment, such as other economic issues. Holston has this arm, Human Capital Development, that they have had in place for many years, and after further discussion, we thought this would be an excellent way to maximize the use of this company to provide another critical means of assisting the residents of this facility to continue to enhance their own economic status or otherwise make positive changes. We see this as I believe it's a one-year agreement to get some experience and to see if during this 1 year, everything that they've laid out and proposed can definitely prove over that 1 year to generate some good positive accomplishments as they have achieved in other projects where they provided similar services. Is there any questions about Council Memo 192-18?
Yes. David, I noticed they talk about HHCD. That's the management company, correct? Holston?
Holston?
The Holston Human Capital Development NFP. Is that the management company, or is that the ownership?
That's kind of, I guess what we would say is it's kind of an affiliate, a segment of the Holston company, but it's a special unit that focuses specifically on human resource development assistance. Similar services have been offered in the past, so this will be not only a continuation but an enhancement of that in the current facility.
So then what is the reference with its partners? Who are its partners?
Mr. Jackson, can you help me with that particular question?
I think that's probably a bit of a stretch there. It should have said with its partner, and that would be City of Joliet.
So Kendall, is this Riverwalk Homes Community Service? That's the community center that we are obligated through the consent decree with HUD to provide.
Correct.
So, okay, I wanted to be clear on that. Okay, thank you.
nothing else, we'll move on. Council Memo 193-18, resolution authorizing the acquisition of 853 Adler Street in the amount of $73,900. And if I may, right after that, 194-18 is for the acquisition of 308 Lawton Avenue in the amount of $70,000. Both of these property are located near our East Side wastewater treatment plant. This is a continuation of the city's efforts to continue to acquire property as it may be available for continued expansion of the current project or as yet future development of our facility down there. Any particular questions or comments on these two property acquisitions?
Allison, how many more parcels do we have? I mean, we're getting towards where we have pretty much purchased most of what we need, right?
Yes, these are the last two parcels.
These are the last two?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Moving on, unless there's any other questions. Last resolution is authorizing a preliminary engineering agreement with CSX Transportation for the Hobart Road railroad crossing widening in the amount of $27,720. Did want to point out that this is the initial estimate for services that the city will have to pay to have I think it's the railroad company assist us as we continue on with planning, design, and other work associated with the Hobart Road extension. This is pretty standard as you work with the various railroad companies. Any question on this services cost reimbursement agreement? Moving on to bids and contracts. Award of contracts. 197-18, request authorization to approve continuing a contract for information technology hardware maintenance services with Sentinel Technologies in an amount not to exceed $360,000. Let me ask our IT director, Dave, would you just do you want to comment on this particular contract and especially the dollar amount in its relationship to the services we'll be receiving from Sentinel Technologies?
Yeah, this is a consistent, this is what they call their Hans arrangement. So at the end of the day, what it means is we have about roughly 300-400 devices all around the city. This includes roughly 40 locations. That's everything from routers to switches to the radios that are all up on the antennas. And the reason why it says not to exceed is we are doing a reduction, and so we don't know exactly where that's going to end up as we're optimizing the network. So the good news is that numbers are going to go down. And we're also doing a little bit of self-insuring at the same time. So like I said, as we're paring down the network and as we're figuring out what pieces we can self-insure ourselves, we're going to see that number go down. Any other questions?
I guess just one. So we are under contract with Sentinel at this time, David?
Yeah, Sentinel is the entity that helps support our entire network, and they're doing a good job. We've managed our uptime is extremely good. They're also got the expertise for the guys that can actually climb the towers and do all that kind of work to it. So some of it is very specialized.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, move on to Council Memo 198-18. Request authorization to approve a professional service agreement for the 2018 sanitary sewer investigation and rehabilitation program with RJN Group, Inc. in the amount of $458,433. And if I could, we have Allison Swisher tonight, who was just today appointed interim Public Utilities Director Allison, do you just want to comment on this, especially in light of the cost? And what services this RJN group will be providing for us, just in general?
So about 5 years ago, we decided to take an aggressive approach to rehabilitating the sewer system. This would be the fourth year that we've had a contract with RJN Group. We've been going into targeted neighborhoods that have had occurrences of sewer issues such as basement backups, and doing a number of investigations such as smoke testing, sewer televising, and also manhole inspections. And so with that information, we then generate the 5-year rehabilitation plan. This year, the neighborhoods that are targeted are Idleside, as well as the area just northeast of the downtown. And so we've had great success with that, and these areas are also part of the rehabilitation plan. So we need to do the investigation so that we can prepare those plans.
Any questions on this particular council memo or request? If not, moving on, Council Memo 19918 requests authorization to purchase flooring for the interior spaces of the Joliet Route 66 Stadium with Performance Floors Corporation in the amount of $66,499. My understanding is the stadium committee met previously, and I've been given a note that this particular memo will be revised, and I think just some minor changes made to that. Let's see, did we have, yeah, Greg Reddy, could you comment on those changes?
Yeah, the only real change to the memo will be the removal of new flooring in the suite areas on the 3rd floor. The rest of the areas will have the flooring redone, with the exception of those areas. They'll be deleted off the contract.
And the price, Greg?
It's about a $20,000 savings.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that item? Moving on, Council Memo 218 requests authorization to approve the annual service agreement for sewer system monitoring with Mnet LLC in the amount of $59,922. This is a service in connection with the various CSO outlets and the equipment associated with that to continue to monitor and provide other technical services as has been done in the past. If you have any questions on that, Allison Swisher can respond. If there's no questions, we'll move on. Amendments, change orders, and payments. Council Memo 20218 requests authorization to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $22,932 and payment request number 8C for the 2017 bituminous patching materials contract with Deconstruction in the amount of $20,706.66. And I believe this memo is on for the Public Service Committee to review tomorrow night. If I could also, the same will be true of Council Memo 20318, requests authorization to approve change order number 1 for the 2017-18 snow removal for downtown city center area, commuter lot area with George's Landscaping in the amount of $16,798. And both those are on tomorrow night's Public Services Committee. Any questions on either one of those memos? That brings me to the end of the council agenda for tomorrow night. Turn it back over to the city clerk.
Next, we have public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak under public comments this evening? Seeing none, there is no need. Oh.
Hello, my name is Judy Kreiser. I live on Vetter Road in Joliet. I know you people have seen me in here before. Last month I was in here about the noise at the Mars Candy Warehouse on the end of our road. Nothing's been done so far. Something needs to be done. It's not just me, it's the other 10 families that live out there. We have a right to go to sleep at night and not listen to noise. It's keeping us up all night. It's not just me and, you know, our family. It's the other families. And nothing's been done. It's been a whole month already and nothing's been done. We want to know what's going to be done. It's that simple. No answers? What can be done? What's going to be done? What is it up to us you okayed this project. In fact, there was no hearing on this project. It was all done under the table project. First thing we know, there's a warehouse going up. We have no say-so into it. Why didn't we have any say-so into it? You know, it's like we would like to sleep at night. You know, let's bring the noise over to your families and you listen to it for a while and see what you think. You know, something's got to be done. You okayed this project. We need answers. Do you have any idea when it's going to be done? If anything's going to be done? Does anybody have any answers?
Mayor and council, I'd just like to say, I know we've had many city officials have been in contact with the individual here tonight, together with others. I haven't had a chance to hear back from them on any kind of continuation or if there is anything above and beyond what we have done to date that could possibly address that. But that is still kind of a work in progress.
Nothing's been done. We haven't talked to you people. I was in here a month ago saying the same thing. Nobody's talked to us about it. Nothing's been done. You people agreed to it. You put this in. It's your responsibility to make sure we can actually get a night's sleep.
Judy, hang on a second. Mayor, I was down there on Thursday for the memorial at the Abraham Lincoln Cemetery. And I did go by Mars and hung out there on Vetter Road for a while. And it was quiet. And I couldn't figure out why in the middle of the day, in the morning, it was quiet out there. So is there something maybe we could ask them to do? Why is it quiet during the day but so noisy?
Because they are unloading.
Judy,
I've been out there too, and it was quiet when I was out there. And I know about 2 months ago, Detective Clement went out there about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. He said it was quiet then also, so I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not there in the middle of the night, but I'm just saying during the day.
He did go on check in the hours that were being complained about.
Can we call them and ask them?
2 o'clock in the morning.
Judy, Judy, we're trying to work here.
Okay.
Maybe we can make a phone call and ask them why it's so quiet during the day.
Could you call Mars and ask them if they're making a lot of noise in the middle of the night?
We'll find the appropriate contact and follow up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Judy, we're going to follow up.
Yes.
Okay?
Well, I just want to say, during the night, they're unloading the trucks. They're not making noise. Towards the end, 2 in the morning, they're making noise because the refrigeration units are going on those trucks, and that's what's
Kendall's
making the
gonna
noise.
call, okay, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak under public comments?
Well, you guys know me too, Kathy Garthus, I live on Vetter Road. Last night, again, it's getting to spring again, and again, the drag racing is picking up down on Schweitzer Road, just at the end of Vetter Road over here. Last night, me and my mom come home last night about 10:30, 11 o'clock. 3 cars in all 3 lanes blocked the road from us. We couldn't get by. They finally let us by, but they were really rowdy. I called the Joliet police, of course, and I'm trying to get the dispatcher to listen to the noises. They're squealing the tires so they can hear the fact that the drag racing's going on. The dispatcher hangs the phone up on me. We have to call back. Dispatcher keeps giving us a hard time every time we try to report these drag racing things. And we told them repeatedly, and they keep saying they're going to up their patrol. It's funny they're never out here, but what was discouraging was Saturday night, I saw 3 Joliet cops in the end of the Walmart parking lot for one cop to write a ticket out. I think, you know, the dangers, what we got going on in our neighborhood anymore with the trucks illegally turning, workers at the warehouses speeding and passing on double yellow lines, and with these drag racers, we feel we need police out here 24/7 because all the crimes that are happening in our area. We feel every time we call, we are getting harassed. You know, we tell the dispatcher which way the cars are going now. They're drag racers last night, they're heading to Littleway Road. I tell your cops that so they can get them. What happens? The cop goes by our house on Vetter Road. Like they're too late, they're gone already. What can be done about this? I mean, when you come home, you're coming down the street and they got 3 cars right in 3 lanes, right across the road, blocking you from getting home. I don't know what could be done. I mean, does somebody gotta get killed out there before something gets done?
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Seeing none, there is no need for a closed session this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
And motion is seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.